talking, looking at the headlines making the rounds across the dailies from Nigeria. This is Freshly Pressed on the Smooth Breakfast. My name is Kekere-Ekun, and we are streaming live on YouTube. Yes, you can join the live stream at Smooth 981 FM Lagos on YouTube. You can also be a part of the conversation. We love when you're part of the conversation each and every single day. You can send your messages via WhatsApp on 0809 4440981. And joining me this morning to analyze the stories making the rounds, I have with me Mr. C and AB. Very good morning to you, Mr. C and AB. Good to have you on this Monday morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Lagos. Good morning, guys in the studio.
Good morning, Aya. Good morning, AB. Good morning, Lagos.
All right, let's get right into things. Of course, a new week, a lot of should I say updates and things to expect. Nothing more, or should I say not more than the subsidy issue and of course the looming strike. But let me not get way ahead of myself. Let's take our first story from the Punch. The federal government on Sunday evening said it was reviewing a long list of demands made by the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria, the top of which is the upward review of the minimum wage. Of course, the issue of minimum wage has been raging back and forth. And looking at the current situation of the increase in fuel prices, that call has become a lot louder now.
Yes, thank you, Aya. So we're here. It's almost been a week after the shock increase in the price of petrol, and Nigerians are slowly adjusting to the shock. And while some Nigerians have fully adjusted, I dare say a lot of Nigerians are still struggling to understand that you don't adjust to the shock. Now, over the weekend, we got news from the Nigeria Labour Congress that they plan to proceed on a strike on Wednesday. And the demand is the federal government reverts the price of petrol to its old level before negotiations can continue. However, we did notice that over the weekend, specifically yesterday, the federal government representatives met with the Trade Union Congress representatives. And the Trade Union Congress reps did provide a shopping list of demands. And we understand that the top demand was for an increase in the national minimum wage. And the federal government, through its spokesperson, Mr. Dele Alake, did indicate that a lot of the demands were not impracticable, but that they needed to study the fair figures and consult with the necessary stakeholders to ensure that they can achieve them. Now, that is all fair and good because, to my mind, I have a number of things to discuss. Now, I dare say subsidy has been demonized in Nigeria. The very concept of a subsidy is not negative, it is positive because it means to assist. It's some form of assistance, usually flowing from the government to its citizens. Now, having said that, when you want to increase dramatically the price of petrol, any good or service, you must ensure that the increase will not further damage the living conditions of the citizens who will be affected by that increase. So you have to ensure that the wages are in place, the wages are living, they're adequate, they're reasonable. And if there's any form of palliative you need to introduce, you need to do that first. But apparently we moved the price of petrol first, and we've left the national minimum wage untouched. Now, the current national minimum wage is 30,000. And we've seen over the past 3-4 years that a number of state governments in Nigeria have struggled consistently to pay 30,000 naira a month. And this is despite 3 different bailouts by the federal government during the last administration. Now, the TUC is rightly asking for an increase in national minimum wage for the following reasons. One, the purchasing power of the average Nigerian has decreased significantly. We have to factor in the rate of inflation. And then you also have to factor in this new petrol increase, this petrol price increase. On paper, that is brilliant. However, this is our reality. The federal government says it cannot afford to continue maintaining the subsidy regime, which is true. Now, this proposed increase in the national minimum wage also needs to be funded. My question is this, it's very simple. Where's the money coming from? Because this is not a one-off payment. It's a payment that will be sustained months and years down the line. So where's the money coming from? So we need to tinker with our current arrangements. Yes, some money will have to be found. We may have to engage in further borrowing, whether it's local or foreign, to sustain this in the short term, whilst Nigerians continue to adjust to the petrol price increase. Another measure which is unpopular with the political class for reasons to is this. The subsidy regime is being manipulated by certain individuals who are not unknown to the system, to the security agencies. If the political class will grow the political will to go after these saboteurs and bring them to book, then subsidy in itself will not be bad, because the truth of the matter is the subsidy is supposed to touch the common man, but the way it's being configured, the way it's being run, the way it's being operated right
It's not ideal at all.
It's not ideal. And one of the interesting side effects of this petrol price increase, the price of petrol in two of our neighboring countries, in two of our neighbors, went up dramatically in Benin and Niger. So even the current president knows that we have been subsidizing our neighbors for a very long time. And that is an indictment on the Nigerian Customs Service. Because how does petrol in 33,000 liter trucks, how does it get smuggled out of Nigeria consistently to feed the demand of our neighbors? Because 33,000 liter trucks do not move very fast. When fully loaded, I sincerely doubt they can do 60 kilometers an hour.
And they're not exactly tiny.
They're not tiny. They can't take sharp turns. They can't engage in sharp or sudden maneuvers. So what is exactly going on? And then we then have the NNPC that claims it is owed 2.8 trillion naira for unpaid subsidy payments. Now, I have a problem with that figure because the NNPC has consistently maintained Nigeria's daily demand is 66 million liters. That cannot be correct. No Nigerian driver fills his petrol tank every day of the week. 66 million liters of petrol means you should have 4,000 tankers on Nigerian roads every single day. 2,000 taking product, 2,000 returning empty. We don't see that happening. Now, the private refining Lekki has been commissioned, and they're projecting to supply Nigeria's total domestic petrol demand at 35 million liters. So who's right, who's wrong? So many questions, but we see that NLC wants to embark on the strike. I don't know how successful that strike will be, given reports that some chapters or some regions of the NLC will not be partaking in that exercise. But let us see what happens there. We understand that the discussions between the government and labor reps will continue tomorrow. Let's see what comes out of it, and then we'll know where we're headed.
All right, AB, I just want to get your thoughts on this. Mr. Sim said something. He mentioned that you're looking at the minimum wage. Maybe there would have to be a need for some more borrowing, either internally or externally. But what is your thoughts on this particular issue as it is right now?
You know, it's very easy for us to get into this spiral of chasing our tails. Prices go up, you get a higher minimum wage, inflation goes up, things cost more, you need more money. Mr. C correctly said that states have been struggling to pay the minimum wage. They're struggling because they are not prioritizing. The biggest subsidy that Nigerians are actually paying in this country is the subsidy we pay on the ruling class. The monies that are voted for security votes, the monies that are, in my view, unfairly paid to every level of federal and state appointee and people who have voted into office, is entirely excessive considering the condition of this country. If we're in line with some of those other countries that we like to quote, why not pay them? But I've seen tables where you compare the cost of fuel in Nigeria, then you compare the cost of minimum wage in those countries, and it's clear that we are completely disadvantaged. So
Maybe it seems your connection is going in and out. We can hardly hear you.
Very is help.
All right,
Help is good. When that same I apologize. The subsidy we're looking to get rid of is the subsidy that allows one politician have 15 cars in his convoy. That is the person who is benefiting from subsidy, not the ordinary person. So this strike has been, it's been, notice has been given. I'm not necessarily holding my breath, but anything is possible. Maybe they will actually go on strike. But like Mr. Z said, to what end? We cannot afford the continuous payment of subsidy. However, the same NNPC claiming to be owed has the responsibility of making refineries work, which they fail to do. Why does anybody in NNPC still have a job?
These are the questions. All right, still staying with you, AB. Let's talk security matters now. Rampaging terrorists have killed 24 residents of 2 communities in the Maradun area of Zamfara State in 2 separate but related attacks on Saturday afternoon. This story is coming from the Premium Times, and these stories of killings and killings and killings. We're back to this again, aren't we?
Very, very unfortunate when anybody within the 4 square walls of Nigeria loses their lives to terrorists. We all are diminished. It is so unfortunate that in this instance, the details of the story show that there was an attack on some farmers, and then vigilantes who were running to the aid of the farmers and the community were ambushed. What that tells me, or what that reveals to me, you see, you have well-intentioned individuals in communities all around Nigeria. The average Nigerian is excellent. The average Nigerian has goodwill towards his brethren. They were running and they were ambushed on their way, and up to 17 vigilantes lost their lives. You have to ask yourself, ostensibly, our security forces have better training, better ways to tackle this. So where are our security forces? I am not suggesting for a minute that you can have security forces in every single square kilometer of Nigeria. I'm not saying that, but how can we bridge the gap? How can we improve our communication? Because we must be a bit proactive as well. We can't keep being victims of these attacks. Now up to 21 people, and we never really count those who were injured. Some of them have life-altering injuries. If your knee has been shot by a gun and your leg is chopped off, you may not be as effective as you used to be. So yes, we count the dead because that is stark, but apart from the dead, families have lost their breadwinners, their caregivers, their nurturers. Everything is lost. And I'm not sitting here to say I know it all, but I have not yet heard a clear picture from the government about how they're going to tackle insecurity. Yes, President Tinubu met with the top brass in the military and asked them to go forth and conquer, but that's a broad mission. We need to have specifics, and people need to get confident that indeed somebody cares for us when we're alive. I never want to hear again about a befitting burial. Nigerians deserve befitting lives.
Nigerians deserve befitting lives. Well said, well said. All right, let me quickly take a message from WhatsApp here. This is from Lizzie. Lizzie said President Tinubu wasted 3 months after being elected. The 3 months should have been used to strategize and discuss with all stakeholders. Last week, I was spending over 5 hours every day driving to work and back home, despite leaving home by 5 a.m. Man. All right, let me take one more before I need to go on a quick breather. This is from Yemi. Yemi says, good morning, guys. I think it's high time we Nigerians took more interest in how the NLC is representing us. I want to believe the PIA bill went through public reading before it was passed into law. This means the public at some point agreed with the removal of subsidy. Where has the NLC been since 18 months ago when the bill became law? Please, the NLC should sheath their swords and go back to negotiation table. God bless Nigeria. All right, you're listening to Freshly Pressed on Smooth 98.1. The program continues shortly. Do stay with us. Nigeria, we hail thee. We hail thee. It's true. I mean, what exactly has been going on?
That person makes an excellent point about how NLC had months to point. I think what's the reaction is about that snap of the fingers at inauguration date. Broadly, people understand that subsidies of fuel as currently done in Nigeria are a problem. Not that subsidies are a problem, but that, look at what Mr. C said, that gap between 33, 35 odd million liters and ostensibly 66 million liters. In which country? What are we producing? If we're consuming that much, you'd expect production to have gone up, earnings of people to have gone up, tax and revenue should have gone up, and we should be on a great balance. But poverty is rife.
You're welcome back to Freshly Pressed on Smooth 98.1. My name is Kekere-Ekun. And of course, the analysts taking a look at the stories this morning with me are Mr. C and of course AB. Let me go to WhatsApp. A number of messages you want to get talking this morning, Lagos. This is okay. There's no name attached to this message. Good morning. There's a move. Oh, okay. AB. Somebody mentioned there's a sound from your end. Yes, it's part of the technical issue since AB is joining us virtually this morning, so we apologize for that. Another message here from Jerry. Jerry says, good morning. Please let no one trust the government that promised heaven on earth but did practically nothing. What stopped them from revamping our ailing refinery in 8 years of their government? The government that can through such lavish Galanite party while telling us they're looking for money and yet cannot cut cost of governance. They can't be trusted. This is from Jerry. All right, Mr. C, let's get back into the story, and of course from the Punch newspaper. Still talking about the NLC and the proposed strike. Now, the NLC on Sunday shunned the meeting called by the federal government to discuss subsidy removal and the attendant hike in the fuel pump prices across the country. The union stated or insisted that it would not hold any dialogue with the government representatives unless a legitimate team was set up. I mean, and this is also as electricity workers have vowed to join the strike and plunge the nation into a blackout in protest. Now, Mr. C, won't this be counterproductive, plunging the nation into blackouts? When there's no lights, people need power, and for power, they need their gens, and for their gens, they need petrol. But petrol is expensive and hard to get right now. I mean, is this the right way to go about this?
So, okay, thank you, Aaron. In Nigeria, we always seem to get everything done the wrong way. Upside down, we put the cart before the horse, and so on. Now, the NLC did not attend the meeting that was fixed yesterday, in which representatives of the federal government met with representatives of the Trade Union Congress. Now, ostensibly, the NLC gave a number of reasons. One, they claimed that the government representative did not have the mandate or the authority to bind the government to any decisions reached. Then they also claimed that the government had acted in bad faith because discussions had been going on before the increase in the price of petrol, and that took them off by surprise. And for them to return to the negotiating table, the price has to be reverted. Now, my thoughts are this: the NLC, with all due respect to them, is not reading the room properly. If they're reading the room properly, they will know, or they should know, that this government cannot afford to go back on the petrol price increase. It will be political suicide for this administration. So they should proceed from the perspective that it's a done deal. What they should be arguing now is, okay, now it's done. How do we reduce the suffering? How do we reduce the sharp effects of this petrol price increase on the Nigerian man and woman. But for them to do that, they have to be present at the meetings. They cannot stay away and expect magic to happen. Now, they must also know that this strike will not move the federal government. It's a painful decision. And let's be fair and let's be honest. The three major candidates at elections held in February did say they were all going to remove subsidies. So it's not like this is a partisan move or it's only this party that said it will remove subsidy. So irrespective of who won the presidential election or who is declared the winner of the presidential election, the era of the petrol subsidy regime as currently practiced in Nigeria is over. So the NLC needs to understand that very clearly. And I wish and I hope that some of their members are listening to this show. It's done. It's not coming back. In this format, it won't happen. So what they should now be advocating is, okay, we're here now. How do we get allowances in place? How do we get minimum wage reviewed? How do we ensure that the Nigerian workers are still alive to do the work and buy the petrol that has been increased, amongst other things? That is what they should be concentrating their efforts on, not boycotting meetings and calling strikes. I don't know what the strike is supposed to achieve, and it may just end up annoying every single Nigerian. Now, the electricity workers want to proceed on the strike. Excuse me, the essential workers. Take hospitals that depend on public power supply. If they don't have, they're not properly funded, especially government hospitals, and depend on public power supply, then you then turn off the national grid. Who are you helping? Whose cause are you fighting? Because it will then appear that you're working at cross purposes. And we must also view these things from a national security perspective. The electricity workers, yes, this petrol price increase touches everyone. It even touches me, touches AB, touches you. And I guess it even touches the political class who have still not shown a lot of care and sensitivity towards the issue. But we mustn't proceed on strikes. This resort to strikes has to stop. There must be a place for negotiation. There must be a place for discussion. The labor union is filled with intelligent, cerebral minds. They should apply the intelligence, apply the logic, sit down and come to some end. It's only when all else fails, you come back to the Nigerian people and you explain that these are the efforts we have made. These are the things we have done. There's still no results. And we believe at this point, this is the only way to get them to sit up.
All right. Now, AB, looking at a message here from Yemi, when Yemi talked about when the PIA bill went through, and of course the NLC had 18 months to have a stab at this. Is this a pointless action? Is this an action that should have happened a long while ago instead of, oh, we're here now, let's begin to talk about it, when there was ample time and of course ample should I say notice of what was to come?
Mr. C correctly states that there is general acceptance across the board that the subsidy, keyword, as currently practiced in Nigeria, is unsustainable. That means what is missing right now, I think, is bedded on trust. And that trust gap can be measured in millions of liters, as Mr. C has said. How is it that somebody who, I should say, successfully, as a private individual, built a refinery, states that 35 odd million liters are used across Nigeria, and then people who for 63 years have been unsuccessful in managing the nation's oil industry claim 66 million liters? That gap is actually one of the metrics in assessing the trust deficit, because you might find that if we shine more light and we're more transparent and accountable in this entire fuel thing, the subsidy might not be as much, or might be non-existent as currently accounted for. So what is happening is that people just don't trust those in office who say we pay X
AB's network is going in and out. I hope he. All right, he's back.
We don't seem to benefit from it. This bill was passed to much fanfare. Wow. 18 months passed since the passing of that bill to large fanfare. NLC, with the multiple cerebral people in that organization, had multiple opportunities to engage government way in advance. In fact, some months ago, the then Minister of Special Duties, Clem Agba, said they were still trying to decide what to do to cushion it. That was an opportunity for NLC to come right up with their shopping list of what should be done. I know that they are reacting a tad bit emotionally at the finality of that statement at the inauguration of President Tinubu, but there was ample warning. Again, what is the motive? And for this heavy story, I have to bring in a lighter note. If the electricity workers are saying they will go on strike, then it appears they have been on strike for 63 years, going by Nigeria's current electricity system.
Oh my God. Oh my goodness. Let me take a couple of messages from WhatsApp. Quite a number of messages here. This is from Tunde Omison. He says, good morning, Mr. C. Your assertion that the government should ensure that there is adequate provision, that adequate provisions are in place before embarking on fuel subsidy removal is done is rather unrealistic. How do you expect this to be achieved? Rather, how much money would be enough? Okay, let's take one here from Jerry. Jerry says, please let. Okay, I've taken that message already. There's one from Tayo here. God bless the departed. Indeed, we deserve befitting lives. Our security infrastructure is just getting worse and getting worse. This promise and failed endeavor, the NLC are slow to react and yet being present in our daily lives. Abbas says, Joe Ajero is always pugilistic in everything. He controls the electricity section of NLC. After all, he was the one who shut down our national grid when he was their chairman. Why shun a meeting that is set up for solutions on flimsy excuses of not being well constituted? He needs to take it easy because the NLC is already divided. All right. Let's take another story here really quickly because time is not exactly on our side this morning. And Mr. C, I'm going to come. Excuse me. I'm going to come. Sorry, Abe, I'm going to stay with you. And this is from the Punch, and it's about the census. Now, the National Population Commission has assured that all assets and resources already secured by the commission will be safeguarded ahead of the 2023 population and housing census in the country. And this actually is a very funny one because we don't even know if the census will still take place in 2023, as it were, or when it will take place. And of course, are you talking about safeguarding and so on and so forth?
I remember the figures that were being bandied about and benchmarking those figures against the costs of censuses in other countries, sometimes with 4 to 5 to 10 times Nigeria's population, and wondering what we're counting here, whether we're going to count only people or including cows that are sometimes easier to control than human beings in Nigeria, according to a former president. But they're saying they're keeping all the assets safe. I have no reason to disbelieve them. I'll take that at face value. What are these assets? Among them, their personal digital assistants. They say that they've done some pre-existing exercises and all that. At this moment, there is no way to prove or, disprove what they say. It's a headline. They're giving us the assurance. Now, the new schedule for that census should be communicated because before we know it, I suspect that budget will go up because that budget was made when moving around to count people was moving around at 190 per liter. Now, moving around is 511 per liter. Watch out for an upcoming headline where that former budget has been torn in shreds and multiplied by many figures.
Okay, so very quickly, let me just write on that. Remember that the main reason why the census didn't hold them is they had just awarded the contract to purchase the devices to be used in conducting the census, and those devices have still not arrived in Nigeria. And because they haven't arrived, the final training or the proper training for the enumerators who will use those devices has not happened. So there's still many moving parts, and I agree with everything Eddie has said. That budget will be reviewed, and we will not understand what has happened.
All right, let me just take one or two messages before we have to go. This is from Yinka Bolu. He says, AB couldn't have put this NLC strike any better, but that's what you get when you have clueless people leading the union. Let him turn off the grid and see if he won't be arrested. Boston says, if the new administration was to get all stakeholders in a room before implementing the removal, they will never be in agreement and we will never reach a consensus because most of them were positioning to take advantage of the removal. Sometimes the best thing to do is to pull the plug and deal with the consequences. That's from Olasobo. So thank you, Olasobo. And thank you so much, AB and Mr. C, for joining me this morning on Freshly Pressed. It's been a great one with you, as always.
Thank you for the privilege. The pleasure is always mine.
All right. Do have yourself a great day. And of course, thank you, Mr. C.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all for all the messages this morning. Freshly Pressed will be back tomorrow at 7:30 a.m. But don't worry about anything because there's more to come. At 8:15, Tega will be here. I will go into the locker room together to bring you the latest sports news. Stay with us and keep listening to Smooth 98.1.
Maybe take care.
All right. Cheers, baby. Have a good day.
Have a wonderful